The following video contains spoilers. We suggest watching the episodes alone in the dark. Hello, Wolfpack! Welcome back to the Midnight Society, where tonight we talk about something which everyone loves on the internet. Controversial opinions. Are You Afraid of the Dark was a pretty phenomenal horror anthology series with tons of nightmare fuel powering up our fears to the nth level. However, despite this show's great tales of grisly suspense and undying love from horror fans everywhere, I sadly did not form that strong of an admiration of the series. Now, I want to make it clear that no, I do not harbor any hatred towards Are You Afraid of the Dark, nor do I think it's a bad series in the slightest. I think it's pretty unique. In fact, we still have a few good episodes left that I'm really looking forward to reviewing one day. Anytime now! Shut up, House. But I did not gain a huge love for the show that most of its fans have. I think the show is alright, but the Midnighters argue that it's a flawless classic that outclasses the likes of Goosebumps and The Twilight Zone, which I don't quite see. I've binge-watched the whole franchise, and I can concur that there are numerous great episodes from this gem, but it's not one of my favorite horror anthology shows ever, and I did point out the less-than-stellar tales from this show in my rapid-fire review segments, which you should all totally watch because I'm awesome. But I'm also a huge dick on the internet, so I want to call out all the tales that the fandom placed atop a high pedestal, which I didn't think were all that great. Have you ever felt like everyone around you gave undeserved high praise towards a product that you didn't think was all that hot, or even earned the song sung about its greatness? Well, that's how I felt about some of these Midnight Society fables, because the fanbase absolutely adores a ton of these episodes, which I just didn't get on board with. I want to clarify that this is all my opinion, and it's okay if you love these tales in particular, but I just don't enjoy them, and will argue for my reasons why. These were considered fan-favorite tales of horror, which the fanbase assumes perfectly represents why Are You Afraid of the Dark was an awesome show, but had me saying, really? So gather around the campfire, because we're going to explore why somebody would shake their head in indifference over the quality of some children's horror stories. These are my top 5 Are You Afraid of the Dark tales that everyone loves, but I hate. Number 5.
The Tail Renegade Virus.
Okie dokie Loki, here's the main plot. In this tale, we follow a douchey prankster who is obviously a discount Zach Morris, abusing his discount Screech, screwing around like he owns the school, and signing up for a volunteer experiment at school where the science teacher, Discount Bill Nye, will test his epic virtual reality video gaming system with some gamer kids playing inside his lifelike simulations. Aside from a pretty cheesy high school setting, this episode really feels like a product of its time. I've talked about this before, but I'll say it again. Are You Afraid of the Dark cannot do video games well. Due to being set in the 90s, they have a rather dated understanding of computers and video games in general, to the point that you kind of laugh at how blown away everyone is by a box computer setup like if it was the latest iPhone. Not to mention, it feels like absolutely none of the show's old writers are aware of how video games work. I'd like to remind everyone that Are You Afraid of the Dark once had a pinball machine also acting as an RPG. Nice. Zach Morris enters the VR world, where, of course, everything goes wrong when, are you ready for this? He gets attacked by a phantom virus, aka the Renegade virus, who traps Zach Morris inside cyberspace with him, where he secretly plans to hack into the child's body so he can escape from the computer game and enter reality, where he then plans to, you guessed it, take over the world.
Of course!
Aside from a laughably dated understanding of computers and video games, my biggest gripe is truly with the Phantom Virus. He is not scary. Like, at all. For some reason, the fans list this guy as one of the scariest villains the show ever had, but not once does he ever intimidate you. The Phantom Virus is, in all seriousness, a shiny silver-painted little person with stupid brain pods on his head, constantly cracking the dumbest one-liners you'll ever hear, and he never stops laughing at his own jokes. He's like Mike Myers that way. He spends the entire episode stalking Zach Morris and trolling him non-stop so he can lure him into a trap where he will literally plug himself into the kid's body to escape into the real world. Did a 5-year-old write this crap? But the worst part is that he never comes across as scary. The show wants him to be a child-friendly Freddy Krueger, but he comes across like an Alice Claiborne. In fact, all of his comedic traits kind of undercut any serious menace he should have. His goofiness drowns out the fear. I should be terrified that this supervillain hacker from a video game plans to mind rape this kid and escape into our world, but then he does crap like humiliate Zach Morris like an idiot bully, and he even chases him down on a bicycle. A bicycle! Our dang master supervillain is chasing a kid on a bikie. Now, I would say that I feel less hatred of this episode in favor of saying that it's so bad it's good. This episode was so terrible that I could not stop laughing at how the stupidity piled on, to the point of eclipsing all horror entirely. The Phantom Virus is just so over the top and so ridiculous that you never really feel afraid of him. Yet for some reason, many Are You Afraid of the Dark fans consider him super scary and list him on top 10 best monsters ever lists. I have to know why. We've had much more frightening monsters than him. Monsters who deserve to be recognized as icons from this series. Monsters like Jake the Snake, Mr. Click, and even Ghost Conductor Ray Lawson are such underrated ghouls on this show, yet people felt like the Phantom Virus earned to be up there with the likes of Nosferatu, the Pool Zombie, and Zebo? But this episode does not make him scary. I have to ask all this episode's fans, you were all really afraid of this guy?
Going up.
This was a comedy, no question. The main characters are not much better. Zach Morris is a dick who's supposed to get redeemed in the end, and when his BFF Screech is revealed to be the true mastermind who created the virus all along just so he can get back at Zach Morris for being a douche to him, they just become best friends again after all of this is resolved. Yep. They apologize, work together against the Phantom Virus, and they forgive each other. It's kind of unsatisfying. When they beat up the virus together, they're just good now.
You always win when you are good.
This episode was just so lame that I found it hilarious. It's like a failed prototype of Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, except their Phantom Virus was actually threatening. This was simply one of those episodes that was scary when you were a little kid, but just so goofy now. But that's why it made my list. What many Are You Afraid of the Dark fans saw as a spooktacular shocker, I saw as so bad it's good fun. Number 4. This episode was originally intended to be the pilot episode, starting off the entire Are You Afraid of the Dark series, but it was left unaired and retooled into a later plot in the middle of the first season. And to be honest, it probably should have remained an unaired pilot, because it was definitely undercooked. A ton of my 5 fans really loved this episode to pieces, and highly requested I do it for 1 October around Halloween time, because it's one of the few tales set during Hallows Eve. But after watching it, I felt a tad underwhelmed. In this magical adventure, we follow 2 annoying boys who can't act, pulling pranks around their neighborhood before accidentally pissing off a scary old lady on the block, who is rumored to be a witch. They run away, but the old goat vows revenge. Then, like total freaking morons, the boys return to the old lady's house, disguised in their Halloween costumes, hoping to just get candy and move on. But the old crone invites them inside to give them a better gift than candy, and in a snap, 1,000 idiot moments soon follow. The boys actually take off their face masks when they buy the bullcrap excuse that the old bat doesn't remember them, and then they accept her gift, which is a monkey's paw, vulture's claw, that supposedly grants 3 magic wishes, which the dynamic dunderheads fully accept because idiots. And as you can guess, this was the old prune's diabolical scheme. She sets them up to die because the magic wishes backfire. To the show's credit, they do at least try to feature very absurd consequences from the backfiring wishes, like having the boys get attacked by the neon bikers from Batman Forever when they wish for an exciting Halloween night, but then things get kind of confusing as the tale goes on. For no given reason, only the 2 idiots can actually see and remember the magic wishes and their consequences. None of the other side characters or civilians notice the blatant magical shenanigans, and we don't know why. There's a scene where one of the kids uses a wish for him to win a PE race, where a dark wolf comes out and attacks a rival athlete. But somehow, nobody else but the main characters saw it happen. Even the rival athlete kid who was mauled by the stupid dog doesn't know how he got his legs mangled. Huh? This episode really goes for an ambiguous angle, which kind of lessens the dread you should feel from the dark wishes and the monkey's paw. Vulture's claw, because it's confusing. This episode also relies heavily on idiot moments to drive the plot forward, which is always a factor I despise in serious horror stories. How am I supposed to get invested in these kid heroes when they constantly act stupid and make bigger mistakes every time to force the story to happen? Unless it's a silly comedy, it does not work. Are You Afraid of the Dark impressed me whenever they had smart kid heroes on the show, since I ended up rooting for them to survive all the horrors, but this episode does not do that. I just have such a low tolerance for morons in scary stories, and this one has it bad, because the entire conflict can literally be resolved if they stop making magic wishes. But they never do. Eventually, one of the stupid boys wishes for his dead grandpa to come back to life, where, what do you know, his zombie grandpa shows up riding a ghost car to move back in home with him. Okay, aside from this being kind of stupid, it also made me realize that this style of fridge horror is not being used well. This episode weirdly practices subtle horror for the kids, but as I once spoke with my friends about it, the show doesn't seem to understand what made the original Monkey's Paw so scary. In the short story, the paw was a vague supernatural force that was unpredictable. Whenever the family who owned it made a wish, the unexplained outcomes were unnerving. You felt worried about the horrors that could happen by a simple mistake of wording something improperly, and the devastating effects it had on our protagonists. Since Are You Afraid of the Dark is geared towards kids, it's not allowed to go that deep with that style of horror, so the show settles on in-your-face, over-the-top terror like ghost gangsters, ghost dogs mauling kids, and a ghost car with dead ghost grandpa. I know that last one is a direct homage to the short story, but in the literary work it was unsettling because we never got to see the undead abomination, and the reactions of concern from the living family members were conflicted. While on the show, it leads to the two stupid kids into fist fighting over the dumb claw like a comedy routine, which drains most of the horror from what should be a dark emotional moment between these guys. Not to mention, they aren't funny. Most of the scenes are ruined by the boys never treating this situation seriously and acting like morons all throughout. They eventually reverse the magic wishes, the old white witch laughs at them for being morons, and the episode ends with them learning a lesson. I don't know what that lesson was, though, because this doesn't have the same impact as the haunting hours the cast did. I don't get why everyone liked this tale so much, because it's not very fun, it's not creative with the magic elements as other tales were, the horror is non-existent, the main protagonists are too dumb to live, the love letter to a famous horror classic seems surface level, and it doesn't feel like they understood what made the Monkey's Paw so deep. If you like it, that's fine, but I just thought it was super lame. The show has numerous unique magical journeys, but this didn't strike me as one of them. If I had a vulture's claw, I'd wish for this episode to be better. Number 3.
Tale of Locker 22.
Alright, now we're getting into the tales which I seriously hate with a bloody passion. The Tale of Locker 22 is, shock of all shocks, one of Are You Afraid of the Dark's fan-favorite ghost redemption stories. But this time, this episode also happens to involve a whole lot of confusing time travel. I won't sugarcoat anything, this episode has one of my least favorite main characters of the series, Julie. She's a French foreign exchange student who moved here to Canada, but has trouble fitting in at school because she's new and shy. Ordinarily, I wouldn't usually hate on these characters, but good lord, this character's voice is so annoying. I mean, it's super grating on your ears annoying. I know that seems hypocritical coming from me, but I'm sorry, this lady's accent and still prepubescent squeaky voice irritated me to no end. Each time this gal spoke, her exaggerated French accent felt cartoony and obnoxious. I checked, and no, this girl's actress is not from France. She is a Canadian girl who performs a really atrocious French accent. She's so bad at it that this episode made me beg to get Jean-Louis back. That's how awful this girl was. I wanted the Haunting Hours bad French Phineas again. I don't mean to offend any French people out there, but this fake French girl just gave me a headache every time she talked. But okay, besides a terrible actress acting as our bothersome leading lady, the plot is not much better. In this story, Julie gets a haunted locker that belonged to a girl named Candy, who once died at her new school a long time ago. But, surprise, the 22nd locker is haunted by Candy's ghost, and it drags Julie back to the 1960s. Oh no, now she's gotta deal with lousy disco music. Julie is somehow mistaken for past teenage Candy and lives out the dead ghost girl's life while trapped in the past. Meanwhile, Julie's dumb jock love interest, who is so bland and unrequired that I forgot his name, tries to solve the mystery of what happened to Julie and discovers more about the ghost girl's demise. And we get to another problem I have with Julie. She's meant to be the main character, yet she never does anything in this episode by herself. All the hard work is done by her bland love interest. This girl is a useless tool. She's annoying, she's dim-witted, she's cowardly, she's a French stereotype, and she is painfully useless. Dang it, Julie's just Anton from Sonic SatAM, but as a chick. But wait, there's more! In a large portion of this story, absolutely nothing happens. The idiot love interest very slowly puts the pieces of the puzzle together, the ghost just pops up and does nothing scary, and Julie just bums around the past school forever, being victimized at every turn. Oh nice, I think all girls want to be like this badass ditz when they grow up. We never learn more about anyone in this deep drama, which made me not give a crap about any of these characters at all, since they aren't interesting. In plots like School Spirit, Detention, Toy Train, and Grandpa's Glasses, we get to learn more and more about the mysterious characters and who they are deep down as their journey ventures on. You feel for them, understand what makes them tick, and gain a pity for them in the end once the big emotional reveal comes into play, because you get why. Locker 22 is supposed to be an emotional tragedy about a dead girl who lost her life at the school and was forgotten by time, but we don't know enough about Candy to care. More character focus is granted to the jerk old man science teacher who didn't matter overall. The episode has so many pointless characters and scenes that go nowhere. There's my favorite cliche of idiot bullies who could have been cut out entirely. Julie wanders around the past talking to hippies, which is pointless. And half the characters in this never evolve. The kids in Are You Afraid of the Dark are supposed to grow into better people after a trip through Nightmare Land, or die if they fail to learn a lesson, but this episode doesn't have that. Also, the time travel makes no sense. After Julie's bland love interest solves the mystery and saves the day for her, Lord, I hate this chick. The kids prevent Candy from ever dying, and that magics them back to the future somehow. But then, they encounter adult Candy, who now teaches at the school, and somehow she remembers everything and thanks the kids, even though the heroes erased the timeline where she died and became a ghost encountering them in the first place. So how does she even remember them or any of this if that timeline never occurred?
See, that's the thing about time travel, Barry. The more you do it, the less the rules apply to you.
What should have been an emotional roller coaster of emotion just felt like a boring kiddie ride that was underdeveloped to the max. So many fans praised this episode as a great tragedy where the show got serious for a change, like on the epic Tale of the Shiny Red Bicycle, but I felt nothing. It's just so hollow. Locker 22 tried to open up into something touching, but to me, this is an episode that just felt closed off. Number 2. This was another episode that most Are You Afraid of the Dark viewers rated as one of the most terrifying episodes of the show's tenure, but I personally thought it was really stupid. Here's the sitch. We follow a struggling college model, teenage model, named Emma, who needs some beauty tips and self-confidence in order to get her foot in the door with Teen magazine. So she meets with a magical fashion expert named Madame Visage, who offers her a lesson that would change her life. Big shock, Madame Visage is evil, and actually a witch, where she uses her superpowers to steal the faces off of hot chicks, and holds them captive as her slaves, where they must work for her and do her bidding if they ever want their cute faces back ever again. A ton of people find this episode ultra scary, mainly because the slave girls have these pretty disturbing looking deformed non-faces where their normal body parts used to be, which is pretty creepy. But that's not the issue I have with this. Here's my beef with it. This episode also heavily relies on everyone being a massive idiot. The entire premise of this story is a colossal idiot plot to the highest degree. Why? Well, guess what's stopping these hundreds of innocent slave girls from rebelling against the evil witch, beating her up, escaping, and using her own dark magic against her? Absolutely nothing! The stupid witch never punishes these ladies for mouthing off to her, has no security system in place keeping them trapped in her haunted house, has no way of watching over at least 200 slaves who can easily get away from her at any time, and leaves her own magic books just lying around for any of the oppressed idiots to find so they can fight back. Oh, but even our hero and the innocent slave girls are massive dunderheads themselves too. Rather than rallying all the girls to fight back against the villain or escaping to go fetch the police to help whatsoever, the first thing Emma does is ask, "What do you do for fun around here?" She actually has to ask the slaves why they let the witch bitch treat them so horribly, and is shocked to know that being an imprisoned slave is bad. Is that how any of you would react if you were in her shoes? This chick is dumber than Julie the French stereotype. People loved this episode? Why? So, after a ton of stretched out padding, Emma finally convinces the other faceless slaves to do something that none of them ever thought of in the last hundreds of years they were held here. Fight back! And just to solidify my point on this embarrassment of an episode, the slave girls win easily, hold the witch down, and use her own magic instructions book against her. It was that dang easy. Why the heck did it take you all so long to do that?
The world may never know.
I always hate stories where the solutions are so simple that they were right in front of the characters all along, yet they never actually do anything with them. This is plain old bad writing. I think most fans were more intrigued by the flashy visuals rather than the substance of the narrative, since The Haunting Hour Scary Mary had a very similar premise, but pulled it off 1,000 times better than Are You Afraid of the Dark did. The better version of this tale is Scary Mary, because they maintained a unique and creative plot, which was also clever, while Are You Afraid of the Dark had a cool idea, but nothing to back it up. I know a ton of people thought it was scary, but it's undercut by the classic idiots in horror stories being stupid curse. A problem that certainly should be seen and addressed once you're past the surface level of art. Before we move on to my number one choice, here are a few dishonorable mentions. The Tale of the Lonely Ghost. Most of the fanbase praises this one up as one of the best tales of the series, but I didn't think it was all that impressive. Didn't hate it, but the shiny red bicycle was better. The Tale of the Frozen Ghost. I've already gone through an hour-long review on why I hate this episode, but the short version is, I don't think this was as heartwarming as it pretended to be. The Tale of the Silent Servant. I love horrifying scarecrow stories, but this one was the first to disappoint me. It was doing okay up until the part where we see the scarecrow moving, which tarnished all horror in the plot. Every Sardo episode. I've gone over this before, but if you don't know, I do not like Sardo. He is just plain not funny to me. His stupid stand-up bits never really got that many laughs out of me, but the show seemed to love him to no end, and had him returning multiple times for formulaic, repetitive, spooky schlock. His episodes all felt the same. Some shy kid enters his magic shop to buy something that will totally change their life for the better. Sardo acts stupid and pawns off some random trinket he doesn't understand. Wacky hijinks ensue. And somehow Sardo gets roped into helping the kids he conned and resolving the mystery with them. Or just acts stupid some more. That's it. There were only two tales I liked with him. The Tale of the Door Unlocked, which was pretty cool, and the crossover tale he had with Dr. Vink, but I only liked that one because Sardo was barely in it. I just don't find him funny. Now Gilbert Gottfried, he was a riot. And finally, we reach our number one.
The Tale of the Quicksilver.
Yep, I can already feel your outraged hate comments rising after this one. The Tale of the Quicksilver is another fan-favorite tale of nightmare fuel that Are You Afraid of the Dark fans cherish as one of the most haunting stories of the franchise, even comparing it to such master horror hits like The Conjuring and The Poltergeist. However, you know it, I thought this was the most overrated piece of crap of the series. I really didn't fall in love with this tale, and the very idea that people list it as better than the Dead Man's Float, the train magic, the hatching, the unfinished painting, and even the Midnight Madness felt like an insult. From its uninteresting plot to its doofy as heck demon lord, this episode did not win me over. So, what's this one even about? Well, this episode features a little magic girl, played by Ashley Banks from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, summoning a demon from hell in order to kill it. Let me repeat that. This badass, intelligent magic sorceress girl releases a demon straight out of hell so she can kill it.
What?
Why would you do that? You set a monster free upon the living realm just so you can kill it and send it back to hell. Where the heck are dead hellspawns supposed to go after you vanquish them?
Where exactly do I go? To double hell?
What a twist! The demon fights back and kills her easily, escaping into our world to wreak havoc. Thanks, Ashley Banks! The funny thing is, Ashley Banks plays another character in this episode too. She also portrays the dead magic girl's twin sister, who is also an amateur magic wielder traumatized by the death of her sibling and struggling to overcome the pain of it all. And this really made me wish that the second magic Ashley Banks was the true hero of this story. But she's not. No, instead, let's make the real protagonists these two douche bros who just so happen to move into the exact same house the Banks family used to live in, and they soon have to deal with the hellish Quicksilver demon haunting them for intruding upon his domain. Yes, instead of having the more interesting, complex story arc of a magical twin sibling seeking revenge upon the hell demon who slayed her loving sister and mastering the ways of witchcraft, let's make it about two annoying brothers bickering, dealing with this killer demon with the magic girl's minor assistance, and having one of the idiots be her love interest because she has nothing to add. Brilliant, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Brilliant. Oh, but the wasted potential isn't even the worst part. The monster also sucks. Much like the renegade virus, this ghoul is so unintentionally hilarious and lame that I laughed at the mere idea over how the fanbase considers him an S-tier ranked show monster. I mean, look at him. He looks like a bad Emperor Palpatine cosplayer. This guy scared kids? That stupid grin he has makes him look like a troll.
I look like a jackass. Look at that.
His powers are also pathetic. You know how he burned the witch sister alive and escaped her grasp earlier? Well, guess what powers he uses against the two idiot brothers. Are you ready for this? Because it's so sweet that you're not going to believe this. You listening? You ready? The monster uses his divine demon abilities to move the furniture around. It's back. The dang ghost moving the furniture around bit is back. This is not scary. Oh, but that's not all. The Quicksilver demon also draws the letter Q everywhere. Yep, moving the furniture everywhere, grinning like a horny pervert, and scribbling Q's all over the walls. Are you all hiding under your covers yet, kids? He draws Q's. There's a Q over there, a Q over there, and Q's all everywhere.
Hey, does this look like a cue to you? How about now?
So, after getting scarred for life from those scary kindergartner letters, the ditzy dude bros somehow stumble upon Ashley Banks #2 and eventually ask her to help exterminate their demon infestation once the little bro gets abducted by Palpatine. There's an underlying history is repeating itself theme in the atmosphere that is a little nice, but it's not enough to save the story because the Emperor Q is not intimidating in the slightest and the brothers are not as interesting as Ashley Banks or her discovery of magical powers subplot. I really don't like these main characters because they're annoying and they steal so much screen time from a more unique character who could have been like a true badass Hermione hero. The demon is also not scary. Unlike the renegade virus, who could be so bad it's good funny, this guy does not feel as powerful nor humorous due to a lack of personality from him. I'm not asking for the demon to be on par with Darkseid, but he needed to come across as threatening instead of ominous and quiet. In fact, nobody in this story has any personality or charisma, which greatly disconnects us. It makes the plot feel so dull. Oh, and the kids easily defeat him. In just a few minutes, Ashley beats the Q Emperor after studying only a little magic for one day, and Punk kills him, saving the world. Whoa, move over, Freddy. You've been replaced. This climax sucks. This is my #1 most hated episode because I just don't understand what people saw in it. The two brothers are far from being the worst main characters, but Ashley Banks, who gets shafted aside as a support card, was the one who was far more fun and cool. And the monster sucks. Not helping matters is that this episode also stretches out a paper-thin plot with padding and builds up towards the Quicksilver demon with none of the payoff paying off. I think this was a tale I could have loved and view as good as the Tale of Badge or My Sister the Witch, but it does nothing with these cool concepts and settles for an average plot filled with idiot moments. If you love this episode, that's fine, but I don't agree that it should be held in high regard and on numerous top 10 lists when we know the writers had more ambitious episodes that tried harder. For many, this was the best episode of the series, but for me, I couldn't forget it quick enough. And those were my top 5 Are You Afraid of the Dark tales that everyone loves, but I hate. If you still love these episodes, that's fine. I just wanted to let you know that some of us don't always agree with the popular opinion, and describe why some of these legends were not so legendary. Are You Afraid of the Dark has many outstanding tales of dread which I do love. These were just a few I don't care for. And you know, they aren't even the worst episodes of the series. Just overrated in my eyes. Were there any episodes that you thought should have made the list? Are there any counter-arguments you want to share to defend the honor of these tales? What episodes would you say are ones that you found overrated in your point of view? Well, feel free to post in the comments section below, because right now I need a cat nap. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, or just tune in for more videos posted here on Wolf Entertainment. I'm your host, Catastrophe, and I declare this meeting of the Midnight Society closed.